to our Monday morning trading session, our DTS trading session. The markets just opened up here a minute ago. And it looks like we're seeing a little bit of a rally here on the NASDAQ. So we had a double pullback signal here in the Raptor during the overnight. And the signal tripped about, I guess, what time was this here? Let's stop it. So around 3:30 in the morning, 6:30 Eastern, about 3 hours before the market opened. And we saw this little run up. Hopefully we won't see the markets quite as sideways. Oh, sorry, Gary. Sorry, forgot the screen share. All right, so it looks like we've got to give them a few minutes here to get everything in order. Daniel, are you still in the room? If you're still in the room, I'll be able to answer your email for you. Save you a lot of typing, or save me a lot of typing. Okay, terrific. Okay, so Daniel asked me regarding the ATR here on the Eagle. We were looking at an Eagle trade the other day. And here, we'll use this as an example here. This is a pretty good Eagle trade. What you got to notice with the Eagle is that sometimes the signal is going to print and it won't be in sync with your ATR line yet. Now ATR, it stands for average true range. It's essentially a volatility indicator. When prices are far away from the ATR, it tends to be more volatile. When it's closer to the ATR, things tend to be less volatile. When the ATR is steeper, the market is more volatile. When the ATR is shallower, the market is less volatile. Okay, so there's your crash course in the ATR. What we tend to do with it on the Eagle is that sometimes we'll wait for the ATR to come into sync with the chart before taking the trade. So in this instance, the ATR is still below the market. It's still blue. And yet we're producing a sell signal. Sometimes if you wait for the market to trade through the ATR and flip the ATR over, it makes for a slightly more predictable trade. The problem with doing that is that if you are trading, let's say, near the lows or conversely near the highs, sometimes you don't have enough room in the trade to take your profit objective. In those situations where you feel that maybe, there's strong support nearby and perhaps you'd like to be manage your trade or perhaps even take your profit before you encounter that support. In those instances, take your signal on the hash mark where it occurs. If you think there's enough room here that maybe you can afford a couple of extra ticks, allow the market to trade through the ATR and close below the ATR. What that does is it turns the ATR over. So now the ATR is bearish. This new bar effectively becomes your signal bar. So now we would set up to short below here, cover above here. And you can see in this instance, we're not sacrificing that many ticks in order to get a decent entry and have the ATR in sync. We still have an opportunity to find our profit objective, providing, in case we're anticipating a little bit of a reaction down here. And prices chopped a little bit and then fell off nicely. Actually, this next signal right here is also a decent example. Okay, so we're producing a sell signal, but we're not in sync with the ATR. This one is a little bit more problematic because now we have support down here. It's possible that this has just become our retest of the low, and now the market may try to head higher. So in this instance, it's actually a fairly difficult decision to make. But because I may be fearing that the market has made a retest of the low, and it may now be continuing higher, I think I would favor the market trading through the ATR and flipping it over. So you see this bar still hasn't turned it over. This bar now has turned it over. This bar has now become my signal bar. And I'll tell you, this is going to be a difficult trade to take because we need to trade through here. There's not a lot of room to adjust our stops. If the market comes down for a couple of bars, I could perhaps start to bring my stop in now, maybe bring it in above here and hope that the market breaks through. If the market reverses now and heads higher, I would hope that there would be one more little turn, which would allow me to bring my stop in some more in case there's a full-on reversal. But you don't know, right? You don't know whether this is going to hold. And honestly, nobody really knows. But fearing that this may be the retest, the test of the low, I think I would allow the ATR to turn over. I think, to my way of thinking, that would be more predictable. Now, the other alternative is to consider, well, if I take the earlier entry, if I take the entry on the hash mark, there's a very strong possibility I can take profit, or at the very least get the trade to break even as we approach this obvious support. So it's really a judgment call at this stage. It's which one do I feel more comfortable doing? Do I feel more comfortable waiting for the ATR to turn over, thinking that maybe this has been the test of the extreme? Or do I feel more comfortable taking the earlier entry and hoping that I can adjust my stops as the market goes lower? So here we are. There we go. Next bar turns the ATR over. and you can see we're settled right on this little trend line, there's a very real possibility the market would try to do one of these. It would start to trade up here. As it would get closer toward these highs, we should see the sellers try to knock it down for at least a couple of bars, so there would be an opportunity to bring your stops in somewhat, maybe to here, maybe even to here, and reduce your initial risk. And even at this point, there's still a chance that the sellers will regain control and push the market down. But as this trade is developing, you really don't know. Those are the two scenarios. We're either going to see a bounce off of this trend line, or we're going to see the trend line break and the market threaten the lows. Notice how if we wait for the ATR to turn over and allow this to become our signal bar, look at where it puts us. It puts us right here, anticipating a trend line break. So that's how I use the ATR with that. I'm thinking, when there's more in sync, it should offer me a better signal. And you can do this for yourself. You can work your way through your charts. You can see here's an instance where neither situation helped you very much. But again, the concern would be, all right, here's the high. I'm anticipating a retest of the high. Right? So here's our signal. We've had no obvious retest of the high. I'm anticipating the market to retest the high. So in this case, since I'm expecting a retest and it looks like there hasn't been any kind of serious retest up to this point, I may well take the signal early. See, it's the same situation. If I take the signal early, there's a chance I can get to my profit target. And if this is the last leg of the move, then maybe I have a little bit more room to adjust my stops. So as it turns out, the market goes up and then begins reversing and reversing. And it's like, where'd the buyers go? And in this case, the buyers never came back. They should have shown up somewhere through here. I suppose this was the only bar that was even mildly bullish. This is exceptional, however. You don't normally see that. But, the markets have been a little wonky all month. If we waited for the ATR to turn over, this now becomes our signal bar. And we could risk the trade a little bit closer, but again, it doesn't matter because our risk is contained here. But look at what happens to our profit objective relative to the highs. Right? It's going to be a little bit more difficult to reach. There's going to be a little less room here to adjust our stop. The market brings us in and then promptly reverses. So I hope that makes sense. If not, please let me know and I'll try to go over it again. But that's what I'm looking at when we're looking at the ATR relative to the signal. So here's a buy signal, a nice little hard edge bounce. Everything is in sync. The ATR is in sync. Everything is in sync. We need to consider the resistance and an uptrend, but we can't let it paralyze us. The market is making higher lows. We have broken a significant area of resistance back here. When we break resistance, we normally expect two moves in the direction of the breakout, at least two moves in the direction of the breakout. So even though there is resistance nearby, we don't want to let it stop us from taking a trade. We still need to consider, all right, this is a valid signal. We need to get in here somewhere. Where are we going to get in? Well, here's a red bar buy signal. Yes, it's against the ATR, but if I get in a little bit earlier, see, there's a chance that I can hit my break even if I'm running a break even, or there's a chance I can hit my profit objective on a little bit of a breakout. You need to remember, a bull market knows no resistance and a bear market knows no support. Right? So the highs are always going to yield if the market appears to be in an uptrend. And even on these pullbacks, on these on these reversals against what appears to be the dominant trend, there will be buyers. There's always buyers, there are always sellers. It's just sometimes trying to decipher who is the stronger of the two. Okay, I hope that makes some sense. And it looks like the market put in a little bit of an uptick here out of the gate. We got a couple signals. It appears as though we had a late filter entry signal here in the Falcon. And that has hit our first profit objective. And a macro pullback signal back here in the hawk. Well, we've got some wild ranges going on here this morning. All right, well, we're just waiting out here. Not much we can do at the moment. Crude oil also waffling a little bit. We're starting to creep into some yellow bars here on the hawk scalper. You can see the overnight and this morning kind of a little bit of a sideways sort of range here in crude. Soybeans presenting us with a possible rule of three scenario. We have had a retest of the low. We are kind of the bottom end of this trading range. You could set up to buy. Oh, what is wrong with my soybean market? Every time I try to put a trade in here, I'm getting rejected. All right, I'll have to check that out. I thought I had the problem solved. I'll have to check it out later. The rule of three scenario occurs when the market is about to reverse. Now, you can always use it just as an early warning. You don't have to go crazy and start buying counter trend signals, but it should make you alert to the possibility that the market is reversing here. So we've produced two signals so far against the hard edge, but more importantly than the number of signals is the fact that we've seen a retest of these lows, actually several retests. You could count this as one, this as another. Here's a fourth one now. And prices are attempting to head higher. They need to take out these highs, however. It's not necessarily a signal that's necessary to enter right on the hash mark. But if it trades higher from here, I think we could see soybeans put in a little bit of a rally. Don't want to go too crazy. You can see the market's in a pretty strong downtrend for the most part. Bean inventories are substantial. Crop forecasts are high. But even so, it looks as though we're getting a possible buy signal there. Okay, well, they're just kind of moving sideways here for a moment. And if you excuse me just for a minute, I'm going to be right back. Okay, I'm back. Um, Nothing so far. Seeing a little bit of an uptick here. Oh, and we did have the macro pullback signal here in the hawk. Um, you pretty much got to cover that one fairly deep. I would say at least to this swing low, because I don't believe the pullback is finished just yet. It's the way the darn market has been of late, chopping back and forth. Alright, we're into yellow bars. Possible 4-arrow consolidation here now on the hawk. 1, 2, 3. This is signal number 4. Oh, well, alright, we'll do it at the 2%. I was going to say, I'm just going to dial this down, go in with a single. Maybe they'll still allow me to do that. Just trying to get a feel for which way the market is going here this morning. Okay, get up there now. So we got a little bit of trend line support here that we're looking for the market to follow through on. No, the hawk, pretty much the only tool generating a signal here at the moment, which is not that unusual given the current state of the market. Come on, boys and girls. Giddy up. So if this bar finishes bullish, you could start to bring your stops in under here if you're getting a little anxious about this trade. Tony says we got a potential late filter entry signal going on. Yes, sir, we do. Well, the trend line just spoiled here. Well, I hope they're not going to try to retrace that far. That would be annoying. Okay, more yellow bars, confirming the support that we were already looking at. Okay, so this is the second commitment by the buyers to rally from here. It's probably a good idea to roll your stops at this point. If the market turns once again and trades down through here, then there's a very real possibility that the market will reverse and trade through the lows. We hit our break even and come on, get up there. Don't look back. Get going. Stinkers. Well, hopefully that's not going to be an instance where having a break even in play took me up prematurely. All right, well, we'll put that one back on the shelf for now. Sorry guys. I guess I was sitting on my mute button. Let me just go over the late filter entry signal that I was pointing out here. You may still consider this to be a late filter entry signal here on the Falcon, even though the bar went out of sync for a single bar. Somewhere between these three bars, the market parameters changed enough that the trend line changed color. It's not a complete late filter entry signal because we don't have the filter in sync yet, but we know that if this current bar finishes on the high, it will flip the filter over. And I just know that from experience. I know that's how it will work. I would not consider a late filter entry signal if the trend line goes out of sync for 2 or 3 or 4, 5 bars. That's far too long, but occasionally it's going to go out of sync for a single bar. And if that's the case, like I say, sometimes the market parameters just slipped low enough to change the trend line color. But ideally, the late filter entry signal does not go out of sync at all. Here's the late filter entry / trend change signal now in the soybean market. This coincides with our rule of 3 signal that we were talking about earlier. And you can see now, in fact, we have produced 3 signals. And we would currently be long on soybeans. I've doubled the profit objective in soybeans because they do tend to make a fairly pronounced move throughout the course of the day. But, don't be shy about taking profit earlier. It is a kind of a sideways kind of market. Or, pardon me, sideways. I'm looking at the NASDAQ trying to describe soybeans. Soybeans is in a downtrend. NASDAQ is sideways kind of market, but we do have a first micro-macro cross signal here. Again, I probably go in a little bit light, maybe just throw in a single. I'm not liking all this sideways action. The market can go either way from here, and obviously I would rather see it go up than down. I could even be a lot more aggressive on my stops here. Just give them there, that would be plenty. The safer play is to leave your stops down here below this morning's open. working a possible red bar buy, so last chance for the buyers to get their act together. Come on, give me a bullish bar here, and it'll make me feel a whole lot better about keeping my stops this close. Yeah, this overlap that we get, it's brutal. Crude oil trying to test the top end now of this trading range. If we see a failure to break out, say above 47.10, 47.15, it's a good chance we're going to see the market try to head lower again. Check out the bottom end of the trading range. All right, some conflicting signals now. The Raptor producing a soft edge sell signal. This is a viable signal, by the way. I would probably take it below the lows, however. We have had a retest of the high. I would anticipate a move at least to this morning's lows, ideally to the hard edge. Stops should go above the swing high up here. And I would never really do this because I'm already long on the hawk. I would never short another tool, even though it does look as though the support is going to fail and we're going to see a little bit of a move lower here. Well, Steve says the YM had 2 clean trades this morning. Maybe I'm going to have to throw the mini Dow up here again. Here's the mini Dow on the Raptor. Yeah, nice smooth progression. Nice little soft edge buy, either this one here or this one here, both of which had decent follow through. Oh, I believe this is Friday's session though, isn't it? 26, yes. Hold our stops there just for a moment. Soybeans dragging their feet once again. All right, so we got reversed out of the hawk signal here, out of that first micro macro cross. We'll see in a moment whether I should have actually left my stops down here, but you know what? It's the kind of day where I don't mind taking the earlier stop out. A lot less money in play on that particular trade, whatever it was. So I think it's the kind of day, the market's very content to trade sideways. Doggone it, now they're starting to swing a little early. Just not getting very clear signals this morning. They all came, it seems, early, right out of the gate. We had this macro pullback, nice little move higher, followed by a 4-arrow consolidation, got stopped at break even on that. And then this first micro-macro cross, which I suppose in hindsight, I could have traded above the high, or perhaps my stops were just too tight. But you can see we're introducing all these yellow bars, a lot of sideways trading again. Well, there's nothing going on. I'm not ignoring you guys. There's just nothing going on. Even the Raptor trying to roll my stops here a little bit. I'm going to hold those up here because that's obviously the tipping point for this trade. We may end up closing the room early today as well. I've still still got to help my friend down in Victoria today, so I wouldn't mind getting a slightly earlier start. And there's really nothing going on here this morning. Everybody's trading sideways. Soybeans, they made a little bit of a move higher, but No, not yet. They're just kind of hovering there. Looking for the Raptor here to head a little bit lower. No, Tony, didn't finish my friend's project, hoping to do it today. So on that note, I think we're going to button up the room, and we'll try it again tomorrow morning, and hopefully we'll see the market be a little bit more cooperative, and I'll talk to you then. Bye for now.